This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime, the first of a doubleheader on Christmas Day. And before I get started, Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas indeed for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they clinch the AFC North with the 31-27 victory in thrilling fashion. Got us a good basketball game to start this game off. And now we got us a great football game to cap it off. So hopefully the nightcap of this doubleheader lives up to the hype of this game, because, man, did this game entertain us on Christmas Day. It's what you expect from Steelers-Ravens, one of the best rivalries in all of the National Football League, and they did not disappoint in this game. Sucks that one of these teams has to be eliminated from playoff contention after what we just watched, but that's the name of the game. In the National Football League, Steelers get it done 31-27. We'll talk about this game extensively here over the next 25 to 30 minutes, but before we do that, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie Tee Network. Also, I'm on Twitter, @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me there. And I'm also on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. All of my social media platforms right there in that screen, scrolling up and down. Make sure you handle that. Subscribe to the Louie Tee Network. Follow me on Twitter and like the Facebook page. That being said, let's jump into this breakdown. What an epic showdown this turned out to be. It started out very slow, 7-6 at halftime. It looked like another one of these 13-10 type of affairs where the team with the ball last was going to have to kick a field goal to win. But it really revved up in the second half. Offense started free-flowing, and both teams started to make their presence felt offensively. And the defenses took a backseat to the offenses in the second half. A couple of big turnovers forced by the Ravens defense, but when they needed that defense the most, they were not able to get crucial stops down the stretch, and that cost them. Let's talk about the Steelers in this game. So with this win, obviously they clinched the AFC North division. It's been an up and down season, but they got their stuff together late in the season when they needed to, running off 5 straight. After it seemed like this team was going to be in a little bit of trouble this season, they've hit a nice little string here, and it all started with some soft cupcake teams on the schedule. And sometimes you just need a couple of those to get you back where you need to be. And they found Cleveland at the right time of the season, and some teams that were beatable at a time when they were struggling. Okay, remember, after that Dallas game, we didn't know about this Steelers football team. They were struggling mightily, didn't know where this team was going to go, what direction they were heading in. And then they finally started to rev it up. And like I said, they found the right teams on the schedule at the right point when they needed to. And then they started to get back into the flow of things. They lose to New England, you're not sure. They lose to Dallas, you're not sure. They lose to Miami, you're not sure. All these losses started piling up. You started questioning, is Mike Tomlin in trouble in Pittsburgh? Yada, yada, yada. Is Ben Roethlisberger going to get healthy? And then they started playing better football. That leads us to tonight, where last week was a tough one against Cincinnati, but they found a way to win. Same deal here. It wasn't always pretty by this Steelers football team. Like I said, Ben with a couple of turnovers, interceptions in this game. The defense did not look good at all. They were gashed on the ground. I thought the Ravens did a magnificent job of not only running the football, but staying and sticking with the run throughout the course of this game. They really gave it up on the ground to the Steelers in this football game, and that allowed the Ravens to then throw the football and have a little bit of space and some crucial third down situations late in the ball game. However, this was the Steelers showing their championship medal at the end when they had to have it. Offense needed to go out and deliver. That they did. Beautiful execution on that last drive. And I want to talk about Antonio Brown's play at the end. We'll get there once we get to the end of the breakdown. But this was a game here. Le'Veon Bell does it again. Another big performance by him. putting this Pittsburgh Steelers offense on his shoulders at a time when they were struggling in this game. Roethlisberger had the 2 interceptions. You weren't sure. You needed to be able to lean on the running game, and Le'Veon Bell gave you a big boost there. Neither one of these teams did a great job stopping the run in this football game. The Steelers got theirs more in chunks, whereas the Ravens, they were just consistently getting 5 and 6 and 7 and 4 and 8 and 3 and 9. They were consistently getting good gains, whereas the Steelers, they would get a 25-yard gain here, then they would get 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, and then they would get another 17, and that's how they were getting their yardage on the ground. But the offense came alive in the second half, and the thing I like about the Steelers right now, you're getting a number of guys stepping up, whether it's Xavier Grimble catching the first touchdown of the game, or you're getting a guy like DeMarcus Ayers, a rookie, out of Houston to come in and contribute on the final possession of the game, or you're getting Eli Rogers to make a huge play for you. Guys are stepping up. Jesse James stepped up in this game, okay? Ladarius Green, Jesse James making a huge play to get them down inside the 10-yard line to set up the huge touchdown by Antonio Brown to give them the go-ahead score and the win in this football game. You're seeing a lot of different guys touch the football, and that's huge. Kobe Hamilton stepping in and making some plays. That makes it harder for you to key in on Antonio Brown when other guys are stepping up and making plays, and that's what you saw in that final drive. Everyone had a say-so in that final drive and allowed the Steelers to get down there. And then when the game was on the line, when it was crunch time, you go to your money man, Antonio Brown. Let's talk about the play that he made at the end of this game. That was a huge play. Not many receivers in this league have the presence of mind to understand that if I don't get in here, we lose the football game, because if forward progress is stopped, they're going to blow the whistle, the clock's going to run, they're not getting another playoff with 9 seconds left. This game is done. And he has the presence of mind in the moment to realize I need to stretch the football out over the goal line. He did that, and it won them this game, okay? Without that stretch, they blow that whistle, this game is over. And I'm telling you right now, I can think of about 85% of the league, 90, maybe even 95% of the league at receiver, they don't make that play. They don't stretch the football over the goal line. That was a heady, smart play that you expect from one of the best in the business in Antonio Brown. I thought the Steelers were horrible in this game at tackling. Defensively, they were looking for kill shots instead of wrapping up, which allowed the Steelers, as you saw in the final touchdown by Juszczyk, a simple job there would have been to just go up, wrap him up. We know Mike Mitchell, always looking for a kill shot. Always looking for a knockout blow. He comes up trying to be physical with a fullback. Well, guess what? He's just as physical as you are. Instead of wrapping up at that point, now he's trying to rake and reach for the football, and Juszczyk runs him over, keeps his balance, and gets into the end zone. I thought it was a really poor exhibition of tackling displayed in this game by the Steelers. They struggled all game long. A lot of yards after contact for the Ravens in this football game. The Steve Smith catch and run in the first half, a poor tackling. Again, the Steelers did not do a good job of tackling in this football game, but they find a way to get it done because the offense heated up in the second half when they had to have it. You go to the Ravens side of things, and this is a disappointing finish to their season because no matter what they do next week, they can't get into the postseason after losing this game and dropping to 8-7 on the season. I figured that they would not make the postseason. I've been saying that all season long because I didn't think they could score enough points. Well, they scored 27 here. And if you score 27, you're supposed to win with this vaunted Ravens defense. You're supposed to find a way to win. You had the lead late, and you want to say that your defense is good? Well, time for them to prove that they're good by going out and getting a stop with the game on the line. And they just failed to do that in the fourth quarter. The Steelers scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. 3 straight drives. It all started with the Tavon Young pass interference penalty that really jump-started this Steelers offense that was struggling. After that PI, it's like they just could not stop the Steelers from doing whatever it is they wanted to do on the offensive side of the football. The next 2 drives were right down the field, including the game-winning drive that was capped off by the Antonio Brown touchdown. The Ravens simply could not get stops defensively. They made some big plays, Orr with the pick, Mosley with the pick. They had some opportunities. They had to settle for some field goals. That really cost them in this game. But again, that's what they've been all season. That's been their MO. that they settle for field goals. They're a team that will field goal you to death. Well, that wasn't going to be enough tonight, especially after the Steelers got it going in the fourth quarter. For a while there, I thought maybe those field goals were going to really benefit them and it was going to be the difference in this game. But once the Steelers got it going offensively, and like I said, it all started after that Tavon Young pass interference penalty down the field, which I thought was unnecessary. If he would have just looked for the football, I think he could have either made a play or that football would have been uncatchable and he could have just dove, made an attempt, and it would have been incomplete. But instead, he panicked, didn't look back for the football, gets the PI, and like I said, it set off a chain of events that allowed the Steelers to really get going offensively, and they would not look back in this game. 21 points in the fourth quarter in that final frame, doing in the Baltimore Ravens. This defense did not have a good day at the office. They failed to get consistent pressure on Ben Roethlisberger throughout the game. And when he did, he had places to step up. There was no interior pressure to make him pay for having to step up. And so he was able to make plays despite guys off the edges winning at times like Dumerville and Suggs. But there was no interior pressure, so he was able to step up and make something happen. Offensively, I thought that it was a slow start for the Ravens in this game, but they got it going in the second half as well. They were pretty consistent, though. They scored in every single quarter of this football game, scored in the second half, had the lead late in this ball game with 4 minutes left. They had this game right where they wanted. They score with less than 2 minutes to go in this football game. They had the Steelers right where they wanted them. Got your defense on the field, which is supposed to be the strong suit of your team, and you can't get the stop necessary to win this game. Look, Steelers just needed a field goal to tie. So at worst, you should have been able to force them to trot Chris Boswell onto the field and see if you couldn't get him to miss, similar to what happened last night with Cincinnati and Houston. Try to get him on the field, see if he can't miss, see if you can't get away with a W. Instead, you allow the Steelers to go all the way down the field and win the game. That is disappointing because you were literally 9 seconds away from potentially winning the AFC North division, and instead you are now out of postseason contention. And this is a Ravens team that we're not accustomed to seeing miss the playoffs this many years in a row. Now I believe this is the third year in a row that they have not been in the postseason after not missing a postseason trip the first 6 years of Flacco and Harbaugh. So they've hit a little bit of a rough patch here in Baltimore with Flacco and Harbaugh. Got to get back on the horse. This was a vast improvement this year because I thought they would be a solid team, but I didn't think they would compete as much as they did for this division crown. I thought they would have been somewhere around third in this division. I thought they were going to win 7 or 8 games, which is where they are right now at 8-7. But I didn't think their 8 wins would look like this, where they would be in a position to win 9 and possibly 10 had they won tonight and had a chance to win this division. So it was a good season. But when you're the Ravens, this isn't something that you take solace in. This is a team that is Super Bowl or bust each and every single year because they're that good. This is that good of an organization. So from that standpoint, there's no silver lining here with this loss. You don't look to compete against the Steelers. You look to beat them, and you had an opportunity. And the one thing that you hang your hat on and have hung your hat on this season, the defense let you down in this football game when you needed them the most. So with that being said, all right, let's jump into your comments and talk about this football game. What a game it was, man. Gotta love Steelers and Ravens. Gotta love it. The Black Al Bundy says, "What up, Lou? What's going on? Merry Christmas to you and yours, Black Al B." DG Productions says, "Hey, Lou, thanks for doing this today and Merry Christmas." No problem, man. None at all. And Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. Do you think Jalen Ramsey will be on the rookie wall this week? Maybe, man. That guy's playing some outstanding football indeed. The Black Al Bundy says, "AB, best receiver in the league." I'd have to say, yeah. If I had to make a list, I think he'd be at the top of my list right now. There are so many good receivers in this league, but when you're talking the elite, the upper echelon, the creme de la creme, you're talking about Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., Antonio Brown. I think Brown tops that list when you're making a list of the best in this league. I think AJ Green in there as well, but I'm taking Antonio Brown. The thing that separates him from everyone else on that list, maybe with the exception of Beckham, is that he plays every week. When's the last time you heard of Antonio Brown missing a game? I don't recall this man. And he just did it again. 100 receptions, I believe, for the third consecutive year, if I'm not mistaken, in a row. Who's doing that? No one's putting up these kind of cartoonish numbers year in and year out but AB. And he runs every single route you could imagine, over the middle, deep, short, intermediate, you name it, he does it. This guy has it all. Speed, toughness, and he's only 5'10". It's not like this guy's Julio Jones size, 6'3", 6'4", 220, running a sub 4.4 40. This guy is a normal size receiver, but he's playing big, and he gets it done every single week for the Steelers. Yeah, I'd put him at the top of my list of receivers in this league. Enrique Valencia says, Ben didn't play well. Even when a game-winning touchdown pass to Brown was a dumb decision, but Brown bailed him out. It wasn't a dumb decision because you throw into one of the best in the business, if not the best. You're hoping he's going to make a play for you and make you right. But yes, that was a risky throw because you'll have no timeouts, and if that doesn't get in, you lose a football game. So, yes, it was a risky decision. And yes, Ben didn't play his best football in this game. I would agree. The second interception, especially the first one, you can say, tough luck, got tipped up. It happens. A little bit of an overthrow. I think the one to Orr was a little bit of a bad throw over the head of his receiver. But the second one, he never saw C.J. Mosley. Both of those interceptions were bad. Who am I kidding? I'm not going to make any excuses for him. He had a 3-interception game versus Buffalo when they won, a 2-interception game here, but he made up for it with some big plays down the stretch, including the touchdown pass to Brown, which I know you didn't agree with the decision to throw that football. You can argue that, but like Mike Tomlin always says, they play to win. That was a play to win, and it did. So give Ben some credit for that. Enrique Valencia says, how much fun are Bell and Brown? Man, my team one of each, so dynamic and game-changing talents. Those guys are awesome. And they are fun to watch, man. Le'Veon Bell just amazes me with how patient of a runner he is. That's what really strikes me with him. He'll be in the backfield, just kind of dilly-dallying around for like 3 seconds, like just really bullshitting. And you're like, man, if you don't hit a hole and go, and then he's stuttering, he's taking his time, he's patient, and then he goes. And next thing you know, if he had went earlier, it would have been a 2-yard gain. Now it's a 14-yard gain. And you're just like, that's amazing. The way he's able to pick and prod, that's just amazing. And Antonio Brown, like I said, he's just amazing because there isn't one overbearing trait there. There's not one thing that he just does other than probably route running. He's an exceptional route runner, so I take that back. But there's not one trait that stands out above the rest, like a Julio Jones with size and speed combination or Odell Beckham with the acceleration. There's not one thing that Antonio Brown does that you just look at it and say, wow, he's got that better than anybody else, except maybe for route running, like I just said. But it's just the fact that there's a combination of it all. Okay, no, he's not the biggest guy, but he can pluck it out of the air. He has that synchronicity with Ben Roethlisberger where they're always on the same page, back shoulder fades and whatnot. He's just indefensible. They put 2 on him and he still gets the football, still gets 8 or 9 catches for 114 yards and a score. He's just amazing to watch. I agree, man. Those 2 guys, the Killer Bees, are always fun to watch. Marquismo says, should Steelers sit starters, especially injury-prone ones, next week versus Cleveland? With nothing to gain, if you can't change your seeding in the playoffs, and the only reason that matters is because, think about this. If you're the Steelers, and let's say you're the 4 seed, and if you can win and get to the 3rd seed, that's important. Here's why. You can avoid the Patriots until the AFC Championship game. Let's say the Raiders win against whomever they play. Or forget about that. Let's just say you win in the 2nd round and the Raiders are the team you draw because they're the 2nd seed. Let's say they win next week at Denver and they're the number 2 seed. And you got to play the Raiders. You're going to play Matt McGloin. Wouldn't you rather play Matt McGloin as the 3 seed versus playing Tom Brady as the 4 seed because you're the lowest seed remaining in the playoffs? Just a little food for thought. I don't know how the seeding is set up and if they can climb any higher than what they are. I think they're already the 3rd seed, if I'm not mistaken. Can they drop to 4? Not really sure about that. I don't think the Texans can overtake them now that I think about it. But I don't know. I don't know what the Texans' AFC record is and all of that stuff. If the Steelers are set and locked in at number 3, you're damn right I would rest Ben. I would rest Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. Those guys are essential to any Super Bowl run. They're not playing in Week 17. But if you tell me there's a chance that I can fall to the 4 seed and the Texans can overtake me if they beat the Tennessee Titans next week, then I would have to think about playing my starters or at least a half, try to get a nice lead, and then rest my guys. Bottom line is, if seeding can't change, I'm not playing any of my big guns. If seeding can change, then you have to approach this game like you need it because of the circumstances surrounding the Raiders. You really want to play the Raiders in the second round and avoid the New England Patriots at all costs if you can. So that's the scenario for me. If you tell me there's no way the Texans can get to the 3rd seed, then I tell you, rest everyone you need to in week number 17. Corey Fitterman says, what's good, family? How far do you see the Steelers going to playoff? I already told you before the season started, and I've never wavered from this. That's my Super Bowl pick for the AFC. It was Green Bay, Pittsburgh before the season started, and I'm not moving off of Pittsburgh. I've wavered on Green Bay a ton of times. I still don't know if they're going to make it to the postseason or not, but I feel good about Green Bay. But I've never wavered once on the Steelers, even when they were struggling this season, and I'm still sticking with the fact that I think they're going to find a way to represent the AFC when it's all said and done, even though that defense right now not looking like a lock at all. Captain Spartan 04 says, playoffs? Yes, sign my Steelers up. Right up, he says. We'll even sign in Sharpie on that dotted line. Here's your ticket, my man. Your ticket to the dance. Here you are. Hold on to that. You'll need that for admission into the postseason dance. But you've got your ticket, my man. Enjoy that. That was your Christmas gift. Have that when you get to the door so that you can get in. Steelers with a big win on Christmas Day to lock up the AFC North. The Blackout Bundy says the Steelers D is going to be their downfall if they lose. When they lose, if that is in fact the case, yes, their defense will probably be the reason they don't get it done. They weren't good tonight, but they were able to overcome that because the offense made plays down the stretch. Sue Ellen says, I'm glad the Steelers won. I'd rather watch Steelers in the playoffs than the Ravens. I think a lot of people probably feel the same way that you do, but I know Ravens fans aren't trying to hear that at all, but I tend to agree with you there. The Steelers are a much better watch than the Ravens are, but that being said, had the Ravens got in, they would have been a competitive football team as well. Marquismo says, yep, Mike Mitchell is complete garbage. He thinks he's a tough guy, knockout man, can't stand him. Also, Artie Burns cannot tackle or at least hold contain ever, shaking my head. I know Mike Mitchell is definitely a guy always looking for the knockout blow. Always has been, always will be. And sometimes you just got to wrap up. Sometimes there's a time and a place for everything. And that time right by the end zone, use check, running them over, that needed to be a wrap-up moment there, not a blow-up, kill shot moment. Bossaholic says, Big Ben can't throw picks against the Patriots, Chiefs, and hell, even the Texans in the playoffs if they want to win. He probably get away with it against the Texans. Can't get away with it against the other two teams you named in the Patriots and the Chiefs. So he'll have to be better. I don't disagree with that at all. Kais Binge says, how far do you see the Steelers going? Like I just mentioned, I see this as a Super Bowl team. I really do. I think that the Steelers have everything that they need, and the biggest thing that we don't talk about is experience. They've been there. They've done that. A lot of those guys on their team have been through the fires, have been through the fights and the battles, and have the battle scars to prove it in the postseason. And experience is something we don't talk about enough. But there's a know-how in the postseason. It's a different game in the postseason. The intensity is different. The way games are played and called, it's different. It's just different in the postseason. And you got to have experience, and the Steelers have that. That's something much like the Patriots. You can't understate that. Either you have it or you don't. And only way you get it is by playing. And sometimes you got to take an L just to get some experience under your belt. Jared 011 Green says, Dean Pease killed us. Too much damn zone. Yeah, I agree, especially late in the ball game. I don't know if you trust your guys in man-to-man coverage or not. I don't trust a lot of your defenders in man-to-man coverage, but at some point you got to say, all right, they are eating this zone alive. I mean, on one drive, not the touchdown to win it, but the drive before it, I mean, guys were wide open. I mean, Antonio Brown caught a dragger, and there was no one within 20 yards of this man. I'm like, where's the defense at? Had to be a miscommunication. But on that particular drive, there were gaping, gashing holes everywhere. And yes, that zone defense was leaky. There were holes everywhere. And I think that Dean Pease needed to change it up a little bit, give them a different look. But the zone, it killed them in this game. Mark Quizmo says 4 years consecutive. I think he's referencing the Ravens missing the playoffs. So if it's 4 years, that's a hell of a long time. And you probably are right. I think they haven't been since they won the Super Bowl in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. They haven't been back since 13, 14, 15, and now 16. So I think you might be spot on with that. Captain Spartan 04 says, one thing I loved about watching this game with my family is we were upset the refs weren't letting us play big boy football and not let us hit our opponents. I thought the refs actually did a good job. Outside of the Shazier call in the first quarter, I thought Mike Mitchell might have been flagged a couple of times and they didn't throw it. I thought they actually let you guys hit in this game. I thought it was a physical football game as you expect Ravens and Steelers to be. The only one that I really didn't care for was the Shazier one out in the flat on use check. I thought that was a soft call. He caught the football. It's a weird angle. No helmet to helmet there. Don't call that. But I thought the officials were actually pretty good in this game. The Black Al Bundy says, Stephon Diggs throwing the ball in the crowd after the TD, fair or foul? I loved it. You always like when the only thing that the NFL frowns upon with that is that you get fans fighting over the football when you throw it into the crowd. Other than that, I love it when they launch the football into the crowd. It's always fun to see guys have that excitement and just let it loose and rip the football. But again, you could cause a ruckus in the crowd because everybody's going for the football. Next thing you know, you got people fighting over the ball. But in any event, for me, that's fair all day long. Andrew Kim says, offense couldn't get TDs and defense gave up. Pass rush non-existent, but the run game and Flacco showed up. Too bad the rest of the team couldn't. Looking forward to the offseason. And that's my man AK always sums up the Ravens games perfectly. And that's it right there. The offense needed to score touchdowns instead of kick field goals, and that's been a problem all season long. The defense, which has been the crown jewel of this football team for the most part of this season, didn't show up in this game. The run game, which I talked about earlier, Dixon and company, I thought they had a stellar performance. Flacco showed up in the clutch like he usually does, but the defense didn't, and that was the deciding factor in why they weren't able to get it done in this football game. Andrew Kim says, give props to the Steelers. That offense, that's a team that can beat the Pats, and that's why I said I think this is a Super Bowl team, and I've said that, and I've stuck with that all season long because I know this offense is capable. The only thing that I worry about is that defense. Eagle Speed is a nerd says, Antonio Brown is way too cheesy. I love that guy. Antonio Brown, AB is the man. Enrique Valencia says, man, Bell dancing in the backfield and being able to find a hole and picking up yards is amazing. Take it from me, from watching Trent Richardson do that and losing yards. It's not the same, trust me. I know that is not the same. Trust and believe. They look similar, but they are not the same. Enrique Valencia says, imagine being a quarterback of the Little League team when you have Ty and AB on the same team back in the day and watching them both be top 5 receivers. That's amazing. And I didn't know the dynamic and the relationship there until they played on Thanksgiving night and seeing T.Y.'s dad and learning that he was their coach and all of that. And he was a mentor to so many guys out of that Florida community out there. Even Teddy Bridgewater was another guy that came out of his camp. So a lot's going on over there, and I didn't know that. Black Al Bundy says, how many years T-Suggs got left, you think? I think he's got at least 1 or 2 more left as an impact player. So we'll see what happens with him moving forward. I think he's still valued by the Ravens, and even though he's not getting to the quarterback like he used to, he's still a smart football player. I think he's still got another year or 2 left. As long as he's making manageable money. He's not costing the Ravens a gross amount of money and not willing to take a pay cut. I think they'll keep him around for at least another year. Corey Fitterman says, yo, family, see you Tuesday for the Redskin Report. We got to talk about firing Joe Barry and who we can get as the DC for the Skins. Definitely. See you on Tuesday. We will talk about that and more. Bossaholic says, you should worry about them fresh turnovers. Hey, look, man, I talked about Ben turning it over. They got to be better. That's a problem. They got to clean that up. They got away with it against Buffalo. They got away with it in this game. But against the better teams in the league, you're going to pay for making those mistakes. Dev Ticket says, Do you think Joe Flacco contract has affected the Ravens roster so they do not make the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years? It's possible. You hear people talk about that. I don't believe it because without Joe Flacco in that contract, you don't have a quarterback. And I get into an argument at the barbershop all the time with this one particular Ravens fan who can't stand Flacco. And I'm like, dude, I hear you, and he makes some valid points. It's not like he's just talking hogwash. He knows about his football team, but what he doesn't understand is that you just can't plug anybody in and expect to win in this league. If Ryan Mallett was your quarterback, you wouldn't even be 8-7 right now. You wouldn't have been 8-6 going into this game with a shot to win the division. I'm just informing you of facts. You have to have a quarterback, and Joe Flacco, say what you want about him, is still one of the better ones in this league. So you can sit here and talk about this, that, and the third with Joe Flacco. Bottom line is, when the game's on the line, this guy's as clutch as any quarterback. And he's had his moments this year when he hasn't been clutch down the stretch. But I'll still take Joe Flacco over most quarterbacks in this league with the game on the line. And you saw, with the game on the line in this game, he got an opportunity, took his team down the field, and put him in the end zone. That's what Joe Flacco does. So my thing is, you had to pay him. After he did what he did, he bet on himself. It's not like you didn't offer a contract the season before he was due. You did in that offseason. He said, nope, I'm going to bet on myself. He did. And then he goes out in the playoffs and goes 11-0. And the rest is history. He won a Super Bowl. You got to pay him. And did that hurt you cap-wise? Yeah, but there were other deals in there, too, that were big that hurt you as well. So his contract wasn't team-friendly, but you had to do it. You had a gun to your head. There was nothing you could really do about that. Jared011 Green says, you think Steve Smith will come back? I hope he does because he's still got football left in him. He's still probably the Ravens' best receiver, and that's a damn shame, but I think he's still the best receiver. What the hell happened to Mike Wallace in this game, though? Haven't seen him, it seems like, in 2 weeks or so. He would have been a guy that you would have loved to have seen catch and run something today. Kais Benj says, thoughts on James Harrison in this day and age? Now, of him and Terrell Suggs, I think he's the guy that I think has less in the tank. He doesn't get as much pressure on the quarterback. He's solid in the run game, but again, I think you can upgrade James Harrison. But I think the Steelers are just comfortable with James Harrison. They know what they're getting week in, week out with him. Veteran leader, guy that's going to show up each and every week, play tough in the run game, and still offers you a little bit of pressure. But I think you can upgrade that position. I really do. Jared011 Green says, some Ravens fans think we need to get rid of Flacco and Harbaugh. I disagree wholeheartedly. I agree with you. Harbaugh is still one of the better coaches in the league. And Flacco, say what you want about Flacco. And I know there's gripes and you could point to completion percentage and all of this stuff. But Joe Flacco is still a viable option in this league. And again, look around the league at all the teams and look at their starting quarterbacks, and you'll find that there are at least 8 to 10 teams who would love to take Joe Flacco off your hands if you don't want him. And then that would put you in a position where you would need a quarterback. I just say you roll with Flacco, you roll with the mistakes, but just know that Joe's going to give you a chance to win each and every single week. And with that being said, Bossaholic says, Redskins make the dance. We got a shot. I'll be able to tell you a little bit more about how I feel about our chances come Monday after the Lions game. We'll see what happens. A lot of different scenarios. We'll see what happens. But in any event, that's going to do it for your man Louie Tee here on this Christmas night edition of Sunday Night Football Overtime. Got one more, the first of 2 on Sunday. Still have the nightcapper, Chiefs at home hosting the Denver Broncos. The last time these two teams met on a Sunday, we had ourselves a dandy. This might be a part 2 to that. We'll see if they live up in the sequel to what they did the first time this season. But in any event, the Steelers clinched the AFC North with the victory in thrilling come-from-behind fashion, 31-27 over the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens lose this football game, drop to 8-7, and are eliminated from playoff contention this season. Steelers are 10-5, win the division, and I think they're going to be your 3rd seed in the AFC conference when it is all said and done. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room on the Louie Tee Network. This has been another edition of Sunday Night Football overtime. Steelers get it done, clinch the AFC North with a 31-27 victory over their hated rivals in the Baltimore Ravens. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. And as you'll hear throughout the course of this night, Merry Christmas. See you a little bit later on for the nightcap. Chiefs hosting the Broncos.
Broncos won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning retired. 49ers won 5 games and Tom Sula got fired. RG's in Cleveland and my Rams hit the West Coast. Be sleepless in Seattle cause that 12-man ain't beast mode. Oh yeah, I knew it was something I forgot to mention. Yeah, old Tom Brady about to get that suspension. Yeah, I know the